Well, first of all, the new EP, Macabre Cabaret, is only a few weeks away now. What was the process behind these songs? Were these kind of left over from Ghost of Orion, or were these stuff you wanted to get done with Neil so that the fans would have an introduction to it?
No, Neil's still not on them, unfortunately.
Was he not?
No, these we record when we did the album. We did 11 pieces of music, and we knew that there would be some future release, probably an EP. And obviously, because we all loved all the songs, we argued the toss about which songs would be held back for the EP.
Yeah.
We just couldn't decide. There was, pros and cons for everything. So we basically handed them all over to Nuclear Blast and said, look, we can't figure this out. It's up to you. You need to get your record label, you put your selling heads on and decide what you think might be worth putting on the EP for later on, whenever you want to release it. So they picked the 3 songs that are on it. We didn't pick them, but they were recorded at the same time as the Ghost of Orion. However, our studio engineer, Mark Miner, from Huddersfield, Huddersfield's where we recorded everything. He has given the 3 songs a little bit of an overall tweak, so the sound isn't identical to the album. He wanted them to feel like they're a different entity altogether, which obviously there will be once they come out, but they were recorded at that same session. But he's given them their own flavour, we like to think.
That's good. I mean, I think it's definitely a better step to have something fresh, even though it was only 7 months ago that Ghost of Orion came out. It's nice to have that little surprise, if you like.
Yeah, it's definitely. Yeah, we weren't sure if it was going to be an EP. We thought it probably would be, but they spoke to us when we first signed the contract that when we do an album, always do a bit extra, because there's always someone wants an exclusive somewhere in the world, or if we put together maybe a boxed set or a special, something like that. And as it turned out, it was going to be an EP, and that's fine by us, because when you look back historically at our catalogue, there's been EPs all over the place. So it's a continuation of that, and they're a nice little stepping stone. While there's not much happening, and let's face it, there's not a lot happening, particularly in the live front, they're a good stepping stone to keep fans, interested and keep the band interested, because if it wasn't for the EP, I probably wouldn't be doing any of these interviews. So I'd be sat twiddling my thumbs. So it keeps things going.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, one of the first things that we noticed about the EP is the artwork itself. It's amazing artwork.
Yeah.
Do you know the artist who produced this, or how much input did the band have with the art itself?
Well, he's an Italian guy called Roberto Bordin, and he got in touch a while ago, actually, before the album, but we'd already got Eliran Kantor to do the album. So we said, look, we've got nothing at the moment, but there might be something coming up. And when it was confirmed that the 3 songs we held back were going to be an EP, I got back in touch with Roberto saying, right, if you're still interested, here's the lyrics. The history of My Dying Bride, so create something that you think would visually represent these songs. And rather than do just one image, he's done 3 amazing pieces of artwork, one for each song. So there's 3 different pieces. Now, I'm not sure how they're going to manifest when you actually hold the thing in your hands, because obviously the front cover is Macabre Cabaret.
Yeah.
Then the second piece is A Secret Kiss, and the third piece is A Purse of Golden Stars. Now, unless this is going to be some sort of fold-out digipack thing, some of the art might get left behind, which would be a crying shame, because it's beautiful all the way through. And he's done such a great job with it, and he's got a real good eye for the detail, that it's possible we'll probably work with Roberto again. He seems like a really nice guy. I wanted to do a Skype interview with him, but his English is not fantastic, and he felt a little bit he wouldn't be able to compose himself properly with the language barrier. So that's a shame, because it's nice to get stuff like this on the socials. But yeah, the artwork's beautiful. I've just ordered a couple of prints without the My Dying Bride logo and without the song title either, because I think the artwork stands alone without those things.
Yeah, it's really sort of tranquil in a way, but also quite eerie, you know. So
Yeah,
perfect for My Dying Bride, really.
Yeah, the colours are beautiful. It works a treat.
Absolutely. Like we mentioned, Ghost of Orion's been out for about 7 months now, possibly 8. I think 7. Now that the dust has settled a little bit on it, how do you view the album in the grand scheme of the My Dying Bride discography?
Well, it's almost like a new thing for us because being on Nuclear Blast and not being on Peaceville anymore, this was always going to be almost like a second coming for My Dying Bride, if you like, because obviously they're a big label, they're bigger than Peaceville, and we knew that the album would get a big push. So we knew it had to be bang on. You know, we couldn't just release just another My Dying Bride album. It had to be something a bit more. And we had long enough to put it all together. And we'd traditionally used Mags in the past as a studio engineer for about 10 albums, if not more. But Mags was so busy, we had to find someone else. And a few friends of ours had used Mark Minot before and said, you want to give this guy a ring? The sound he gets is immense. So we did. And we trundled over to Huddersfield, and Mark promised us all sorts of, you know, really top production sounds, and we're like, all right, let's go for it. It's nice and local for us. So we went ahead with it, and you know, when you hear it now, it just sounds immense. You know, it's rich and it's heavy. It's so layered. I mean, Andrew was saying that at one point there's 13 guitars in one song, and you just sort of think, okay, that's quite lavish, really. We might not have got away with that in the past because the budgets are always tight. And as I say, you pretty much you just go with the flow and record the album. But for this, Mark was having us try lots of different ideas because, you know, he was putting his name to this. And he didn't want just another My Dying Bride album. He wanted something big and special. Yeah. So, you know, all sorts of wonderful ideas. Particularly with the vocals as well, because we double tracked and triple tracked and quadruple tracked the vocals, and I was singing in different octaves and everything. It's not to everyone's liking, you know. It has been criticised in some areas, and that's fine. You know, for this album, it was like an experiment. Let's try something different with the vocals. We've tried it. Loads of people love it. Some people don't. We might do it again. We might not. But altogether, I think with the artwork and the production quality, I think we've given Nuclear Blast a really good product, and they were over the moon with it. And the reviews were amazing. So I think, you know, even after 30 years, we're still relevant somehow. Signing to Nuclear Blast has given us a new lease of life. And now with new drummer Jeff and new guitarist Neil, we kind of feel like we've got a second bite. You know, we've got a second chance. So let's go out and play live. And then, of course, COVID showed up and put pay to all that. But never mind, we'll get there eventually.
Absolutely. I must say, I've really enjoyed the album. I like Feel the Misery, but I like this one a lot more.
Oh, cheers.
The thing with Feel the Misery is like a little bit of a funny story. I remember writing a review of it. And at the time that it was brand new, I was listening to it, and I'd just got a new puppy. And he was just so excited about everything. And I put Feel the Misery on, and he just went, I went and lied down.
Result!
Yeah. My Dying Bride, that good, it transcends species. But
brilliant. Yeah, I love that. Works for me. I'll take that.
Yeah, I mean, and then I was lucky enough to see you at Grass Pop that same year, and that was an amazing set. That was one of the highlights of the festival for me because it was so emotional.
Yeah, we've loved Grass Pop, you know, and Bob, who runs Grass Pop, has tried to get us on that main stage for years, but we won't have it because there's just a festival. I think certainly for the main arena, people are there for a party, you know, to have fun and, you know, drink with their friends and enjoy some rock and roll. They don't want to see My Dying Bride doing their thing, and we don't want to spoil people doing their thing. And when you're in the marquee, it's also, you've got more control over the atmosphere because obviously at Summer Festival, it doesn't get dark till late, which means you're playing in the sun and it's not grey. You know, our music needs to be in a dark atmosphere. So we always play in the marquee. But Bob says to us every year, you've got to play on the main stage, and we're like, no, forget it. We'll keep headlining that marquee. It's fine for us. And I think we've played there 11 times now. I think we Saxon have done it 10 times, and we've done it 11. So we hold a little bit of a record there, which is quite nice.
Yeah, I think either you're tied with Sick of It All, or like one behind Sick of It All as well. I can't remember now, but
can't remember.
It doesn't really matter that much. But you are booked to play Grass Pop next year. I'm very hopeful. I've already bought my ticket. So at the moment, obviously, like we say, with COVID and everything, we don't really know what's going to happen. But do you have much optimism that these festivals are still going to go ahead, and that you might be able to book a small run of shows or something?
It would be nice, but obviously COVID is going to eat into 2021 without a doubt. So I think the early gigs, I think we've got something planned. Well, I think we're supposed to be doing a cruise ship in January out of Florida. That's not going to happen. And then I think we've got something planned for March. It's unlikely that that's going to happen as well. And I've heard, other people saying, if anything, you're looking at maybe a year from now. So, I'm trying to be optimistic, but it's difficult in view of the data, and the predictions. It's not looking great. And I'm trying not to get my hopes up, because, some people are just keen to get 2020 out the way.
Yeah.
So that they can immediately go to a gig on January the 1st, 2021. And I'm afraid that's just not going to happen.
No.
So I'm not holding my breath. I think there will be some shows next year, but they're going to be towards the end of the year, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we both know over here it's not been handled particularly well.
Yeah.
Some bands have been doing like live stream shows and that kind of thing. Is that something you'd want to do at some point, or is it you really need to feed off an audience energy?
Well, yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there, because we've looked into it, yeah, for sure, because we know a lot of bands who've done it, and we've looked at the data, and we're trying to figure out, is it worth doing it? But then it's not just down to numbers. You've got to remember that before I go on stage, I'm proper nervous. We all are. And that nervous energy is what propels you to do the things you do on stage. And the feedback from the audience and just the ambience of having a live audience really affects your mannerisms on stage. And if there's none of that there, then it's going to look like a very different performance from us, because we're not a rock and roll band. We're not going to run out and just fire rock and roll songs at people.
No. We
have to go out and we perform, and our heart's in it, and it's a lot of passion. And when there's no one there, I'm not sure how that's going to feel. I mean, it's just going to be weird. I just don't know. I mean, if COVID looks like it's really going to push right till the end of next year even, then we might have to do it, because if everybody starts doing it and we're the ones not doing it, people will start pointing the finger and saying, come on, everyone else is doing it, pull your finger out. So we might have to do it. And it might be great, I might actually, with there not being people there, the pressure might be relieved, it might be easier to do, and I might enjoy it. But we don't know. We've got no solid plans at the moment, but we have got a few people who want to do it for us. So it's there if we want it. We'll just keep an eye on the situation. If we need it, we'll do it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's an interesting way of looking at it. And I mean, I don't want to kiss your ass too much, but I think that My Dying Bride is a very special band. And like I say, watching you at Grass Pop, like, I kind of went in like everyone else, like, yeah, My Dying Bride, this is going to be fucking amazing. And it was amazing, but in a different way. So I was at the front, and I was just, after a couple of songs, I was like, this isn't a performance. This is real shit. You know what I mean? So it was nice in a way. I mean, like you say, you don't really want to bring people down, but at the same time, it was nice to have someone that wasn't, are you guys happy? Are you ready to die? It was nice to actually watch art in a way.
Yeah, my rapport with the crowd is non-existent. I mean, I say thank you after some songs. I introduce one or two songs, and that's it, because I'm lost in, Ollie, I'm in another world there. I am. I mean, there's sometimes in the middle of some songs, I stand up after rolling around on the floor, and I look up and I'm facing the wrong way. You know, I'm somewhere else, you know, and it's not me anymore. You know, it's someone else who's living the lives of the characters that are in the songs. And for whatever reason, a lot of my characters are not having a particularly great time. So I'm not having a great time either.
No.
So it's difficult. You know, live gigs are really, really hard work. That's why, even in a good year, we'll do 13, 14, maybe 18 shows in a good year. That's nothing compared to our mates like Paradise Lost. They'll do 150 shows a year. I can't imagine anything worse. My heart wouldn't take it. You know, I'd be in hospital before halfway through. So we limit the amount of shows we do because they're hard work. And the byproduct of that, of course, it means that when people see us live, they flock to it because they know we're probably not coming to that area again for a decade. So they come and see us tonight, or they're going to have to wait a long time before we come back.
Going back to Ghost of Orion, obviously it's well documented you're going through a tremendously tough time that most people can't even imagine. And I don't really want to dwell on that because I don't want to depress you even more. But you mentioned that everyone else had kind of upped their game a little bit for this album, and you came in and initially it seemed like your vocals weren't, I don't want to say matching, but they weren't fitting perfectly with the new material, and you had to really up your game for this. Basically, what did that entail? How did you push yourself to that next level?
Well, with the help of Mark and Andy, really, because I thought I was ready to go into the studio, but I wasn't, to be honest. I kind of had to because most of the album was already recorded, and it was like, you know, come on, Aaron, let's see what you've got. So I wrote some lyrics and I went in and I hoped to do all the vocals in about 2 weeks, and it took a year. So, yeah, because I wasn't ready. So, you know, I'd go in and I'd try it, and Mark would say, I think you can do better. Let's have another few goes at that line. And, you know, 2 hours later, I'm still on the first line, and I'm starting to think, right, either Mark has got this wrong, or I'm getting this wrong. And because I've heard everybody's stories about working with Mark and how amazing the sound was, I figured, well, he's getting everything right. Therefore, I must be getting everything wrong. And so I went and I rewrote some of the lyrics, and I'd come back and I started to dread going into the studio. Because it was like, right, okay, I've got 25 lines to sing here. Historically, that would take me, we'd nail 2 songs in a day. I barely think we'll get through the first paragraph today. And I was right. And it was fucking torture. Mark would have me singing, he'd say, right, let's see what you've got. And I'd sing the first line. And when I'd finish it, when there's silence coming through the headphones, you know he didn't like it. And you think, oh, God, here we go. And it just helped me a little bit by playing the piano. He'd say, right, what are the lyrics? And I'd read the lyrics out. And he'd play something on a piano which had the same syllables as my words, but worked with the music. So I'd think, okay, that's interesting. I'll sing that. But because I was doing it on the fly, I'd have to practice it 20 bloody times. And by the time I got it right, I fucking hated it. And so it was torture, you know. And I've still told people today, you know, I've not listened to the whole album from start to finish because I can't, because it takes me back to that time when I was really banging my head against a wall in the studio. Because Mark would say, right, you've nailed it. And I think, brilliant, we've sung 1 line in 3 hours, great. And then to say, right, now do it in an octave higher. And I'd be thinking, you're fucking joking, aren't you? And then, so I'd spend 3 hours doing that and say, right, now we're going to do 2 octaves lower or something. And I think, Jesus Christ. And then it went on and on and on. But it worked, you know, it's rich and beautiful. And I think, well, I'd like to think if you put tons of hard work into something, you should reap the rewards later on. And we are doing, you know, loads of people think it sounds great. I think it sounds great in most of the places. As I mentioned, some people say, oh, I wish I hadn't have double tracked it all the way through, because historically you would sing 1 vocal on 1 line. Then when it got to a particular section, you triple track the vocals just to embellish it and make it lift higher. And those moments would peak the music. If you're doing that all the way through, it ceases to peak because it's already there. But we did it anyway, and it sounded great. You know, everyone loved it. It was just hard work. It was circumstances, personal life, new producer, new record label. You know, my head was going to pop, but thankfully, you know, we didn't have a deadline from Nuclear Blast. If we'd have had a deadline, I'd have fucking quit. But because we didn't have a deadline, it meant I could take a year to do the vocals. Obviously, that's not every day. It was just when it suited, you know. And you know, when I wasn't there, someone else would be doing. Lena would be doing some bass, and there'd be an extra violin. And of course, we had Lindy Faye Heller doing some vocals, and Joe Quayle doing the cello. So there was other things going on. And you know, it got to the point where Mark would email me saying, "What are you like for Thursday, Friday next week?" And I'd just think of an excuse not to go in. You know, I'm having a wank on Thursday. Sorry, I can't make it. Do you know what I mean? I was going nuts, and eventually, you know, I penciled a ham shank in there, Mark. You can't overwrite that. And eventually, you know, I got it all done. But normally, again, when you finish recording an album, you've done the final song, and everyone knows that's it. You're like, that's fucking great. Let's have a few beers. That's it done. Leave it up to the mixers now. The mixer and the producer can sort it out. When Mark said, "Brilliant, Aaron, that's it. You're done," I just packed my bags and fucking walked off. There was no celebration. There was nothing like that. You know, I went and got some noodles from this Asian fusion place, which you might be aware of in town. I forgot the name. And then I drove home. And when I got home, I just sat in front of the telly. Didn't have a drink, didn't celebrate. Just thankful that it was over.
Fair enough. I mean, it does sound like, you know, just an incredibly difficult album to make. I mean, well, you've said how hard it was, and it does remind me a little bit of the story Bruce Dickinson was saying when he first joined Iron Maiden. He had to do the first line of Number of the Beast like all day or something like that, and he was just throwing chairs and shit like that. So,
it's not good. But no, you know, again, when the people in the know, if they're pushing you, they know what they're looking for, and they know you've got it in you. They're just trying to extract it. That's all. And that's what was going through my head. They think I've got the talent, so let's see if we can find it, and we did. Yeah,
I mean, it's a little bit like I imagine, you know, writing a great book or something like that is, and you know, it can take so long and just so emotional and so draining, but the end result is something to be really proud of.
I think so. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Just finally, before I let you go, I was telling friends now I'm interviewing Aaron from My Dying Bride. Anyone got any questions? And somebody pointed something out that I hadn't really noticed before, is that when you're performing live, you have these sort of marks on your hands. And I tried looking into it and I couldn't find any information about it. So basically, what is the meaning behind that?
Well, before we prepare for a show, even after all these years, I'm a nervous wreck, you know, and it's awful. Butterflies, you know, it's like when you're a teenager, you know, and you really fancied a girl and you wanted to ask her out, but you daren't because she might say no, and you're all in turmoil inside, and that's never gone away. That feeling has never gone away. And so a couple of hours before we go on stage, we arrive at the dressing room, and you know, we've brought our stage clothes because, you know, we're not going to turn up in jeans and a t-shirt, and you know, we want to make a visual effort. And I just sat there one day. I like to put a bit of nail varnish on, normally one finger, a bit like Penn or Teller. I don't know which one of those magicians, Penn or Teller. One of them has a red. And I thought, I quite like that. I might do a one or two. And then I just didn't know when to stop. And so I just started drawing little doodles on my hand with nail varnish. And it was just thoughts that were running through my head at the time. And bits of artwork I was thinking about creating when I got home. And it's never really left me. And so you'll never see the same design twice. Because it's, you know, you're always in a different emotional state. And and we haven't played live now for 3 years, so God knows what the next design is going to look like. Because I'm right-handed, the design on my left hand is always quite neat. And then, of course, when I hand it over to I can't draw anything with my left hand, so I just smear it all the way up. So the right hand just ends up being a bloody mess, but it's the left hand where there's all little hidden sigils and symbols and hidden little words and phrases. Yeah. Sometimes they disappear up my arm, even though I might have a long sleeve top on, but I just carry on doing it because I want to do it until our tour manager says, right, guys, 10 minutes. That's when you really start shitting yourself. That's when you can't control it anymore. You need a beer just to try and bring that anxiety of walking on stage down a little bit. You can't go on stage drunk, you'd fuck it all up.
Yeah.
But just a beer to just try and calm things down, because I'm a fucking nervous wreck.
That's one of the more interesting stories I've been told, I'll tell you that.
I'd love to be able to, be full of bravado and, get all cocky and think, right, fucking let's have it. Let's own this audience. Strut out there like a fucking peacock and just bang it and enjoy it. God, I can't. It's nothing like that whatsoever.
No, but I don't think there's a problem with that. I mean, obviously it's not a very pleasant feeling for you, but I mean, for fans and that know My Dying Bride and know what it's about and what it is, I don't think fans necessarily expect or even want you to come out and, like I said earlier, are you ready to party? That kind of shit. It's the same. Paradise Lost is the same. They're not full on or anything like that. And Creator even as well. They're not. Well, no, actually that's a bad example. But regardless, Aaron, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me today, mate. I really do appreciate it.
I appreciate your time too, Oliver. It's really nice to be here, and it's quite a nice, pleasant surprise you were actually English and about 10 miles away rather than 10,000 miles away.
Well, that was the funny thing, is that having to arrange the interview with someone in America when you're in Bradford and I'm in Huddersfield. It's
crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
But no, great. Thank you. Nice little chat. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Aaron. Nice to speak to you too, and best of luck with the EP.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it. See you later.
Bye now.
Bye.